Welcome everyone to this webinar, Right Sizing in Action. So I'm very happy that we have Robert Isishi here with me. Robert is the fleet manager of ICRC Ethiopia, and Robert will share his experiences with right sizing and the impact that it had, let's say, on the organization's costs and emissions. But before we go to Robert, let me do a very short introduction. So what we've seen always is that most of you are responsible for fleets in your country or at a global level. You're always looking at what's the most cost-efficient way, let's say, of running your fleet. With let's say, the funding crisis that started early this year, this objective to further reduce costs has only been increased. And if we talk about right sizing, that is a way to, how can you optimize your fleet in order to reduce costs and reduce emissions without jeopardizing on the support that you provide to programs, missions, projects, etc. So if we talk about right sizing, actually what we mean is not only, let's say, just reducing the number of vehicles, but also looking at how can you, let's say, look at the right profile of your fleet. Yeah, so what's the number of vehicles you need to meet the transport needs, but also what's the purpose of these vehicles? Sometimes you need a city vehicle for driving in the city. You don't need a heavy duty 4x4, and sometimes you do need a heavy duty 4x4. So it is a way to really look at how can you, let's say, optimize your fleet. Optimize your fleet in a way that you reduce cost and reduce emissions. And let me stop sharing here for this very short introduction. Based on, let's say, many meetings we had with our members early in this year, when the funding crisis hit the sector, and there was a strong request for members to say, okay, can we set up Fleet Forum set up a right sizing course specifically focused on supporting fleet manager to right size their fleets. That's what we did. And Robert was one of the first ones who attended the first course, let's say, before the summer this year. And I see that many people some people already started introducing themselves. It would be great if you can introduce yourself in the chat, your name, your organization, your country, your role. So we have a good idea on who is in this call today, or in this webinar today, actually. So, Robert, welcome. I'm very happy we have you here, let's say, in this webinar. And like I said, you were one of the first ones who, let's say, joined the right sizing course of Fleet Forum. So what was beforehand when you registered for the course? What was your understanding of right sizing before you did the training?
Thank you very much, Paul. My first understanding is that I understood fleet right sizing as the process of aligning the fleet size to the operational needs of the institution, the main aim being optimizing the available fleet. But after the training, I realized that right sizing is more than that. It first analyzes an organization's actual operational needs to determine the optimal number and types of vehicles, hence making sure that the fleet is fit for the purpose rather than simply downsizing. This helps in ensuring that there is no underutilization while reducing costs associated with fuel, maintenance, and depreciation, hence increasing efficiency and productivity.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So you did see during the course the value of right sizing, and that can really support the organization to, like you said, reduce costs, improve productivity, reduce emissions. But I can imagine that while looking at it, you encountered, let's say, quite some challenges as well during the course.
Yes, of course, there are some challenges which I encountered because I was doing a real life kind of like downsizing. So there are several challenges that identified in our fleet during the course. They are as follows. In some areas, because of security concern, the staff going to the field must use two vehicles, even if only two staff are going to the field. This makes the use of right sizing tool a bit tricky. Some staff had gotten used to getting allocated a vehicle for their personal use. The right sizing is not supposed to support the vehicle usage for private purposes. Those staff members seem to be resistant to reducing the fleet size because it will mean that they either must share vehicles with other staff or use public means if at all security allows. Third, in some areas, we had an extra vehicle after right sizing because of long downtime whenever the vehicles were to go for service. Service is such in such areas can only be done by our mechanics down in Addis, which is in the main office, or the vehicle taken to the main office for service. So this became also a challenge. A fourth, the vehicles were also old and prone to breakdown. This is mainly because the country had restricted importation of non-electric stroke hybrid vehicles. Therefore, the office has retained vehicles that are quite old, and this could affect the right sizing because we must put this into consideration. Thank you.
Yeah, great. So that's quite some challenges, Robert, and I can imagine that's not easy to deal with it. So during the course, how let's say did the course help you to deal with these challenges?
The training helped me to approach the challenges differently. Despite the right sizing having the capability of assigning you the correct size, other factors beyond our control need to be considered to make the right sizing a success. The factors are, for example, there was need to have good communication skill to convince vehicle users to embrace the right sizing process and accept that the changes are inevitable and are for our own goods. During this right sizing process, we had to do a reshuffle of vehicle so that the new ones were allocated to the field offices, while the older ones were allocated to the main offices, where all mechanics and tools and equipments are available, and the repairs can be done anytime in case of need. So this reshuffle was necessary, and talking to the staff was also very important.
Great. And actually, what you show here is that, like you said in the beginning already, right sizing is more than just reducing the number of vehicles. It's also looking at where are vehicles located. And like you said, you shoveled vehicles between different locations in order to also have, let's say, a more efficient fleet. So you dealt with a lot of these challenges. You did all the analysis. So what were outcomes have you seen since, let's say, applying, let's say, all your lessons?
Since applying the lessons, I have noted the following changes. Reduction in the number of vehicles. The extra vehicles were either disposed or deployed to other locations. There has been a reduction in fuel usage, which in turn leads to a reduction in pollution. Number three, there has been reduction in cost. Less drivers, less fuel cost, less maintenance cost. And then number four, staff have become more organized in planning trips, ensuring that trips going to the same area are combined, hence reducing the number of vehicles going to that area, which is very, very important. Thank you.
Great, great, great. And you will share one specific example of one of your regions later. Maybe the last question then to you before I give you the floor to present your specific case is, what advice can you give to other fleet managers if you think about right sizing?
I would advise all fleet managers thinking about right sizing must take this course on right sizing. With that, they will understand how to use the right sizing tool, hence make their work easier. With the current funding issues facing many humanitarian organizations, the right sizing tool is the best tool to assist fleet managers get the correct fleet size for the organization based on the data available with a focus on efficiency, cost saving, and increased productivity. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Robert. So you showed us that you did quite some work. You really thought about it. You used the tools provided to do that, and you had a successful outcome as well. So it would be great if you can share with us, let's say, a specific case of right sizing, let's say in Ethiopia.
Yeah, yes, of course. I will try. I will put it the presentation here. Okay.
And in the meantime, if you have any questions for Robert, please raise them. We will have some time at the end for questions and answers.
Can you all see the presentation?
No, not yet, Robert. At least I
Not.
cannot.
You cannot. So
You
let's
want me
see.
to?
Yeah, maybe you can assist there.
Yeah.
Present and teams.
Okay, let me. Here we go. And just let me know when you want me to go to the next slide.
Okay. Is it?
Yeah, it's on the screen now.
On the screen. Okay. Let's start. Okay. So basically, I believe everybody can now see present.
Yeah. So the presentation, and you just tell me when you go to the next slide.
Okay. You can start it.
Cool.
Okay. So are we good?
Yeah, you shared your presentation now, I think. So you can scroll through
Okay.
your own slides now. Yeah.
I can do. Okay. Okay. Just.
There you go.
Start presenting.
Yeah, it's in presentation mode already, Robert. So you can.
It's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're good to go.
So let's start. Okay. So first, on the executive summary, just 1 minute. I'm being on the executive summary. The downsizing exercise was performed in Ethiopia, where we have one main office and 5 field offices that had a total of 170 assets. That is light vehicles, 4x4 land cruisers, minibuses, trucks, and trailers. After the downsizing, the fleet was reduced to 50 fleet assets, by 50 fleet assets to 120, which is a 30% reduction. My presentation will only focus on one field office, which is Jijiga, to give an example of how the downsizing was conducted. So Jijiga is the capital city of the Somali region of Ethiopia. It became the capital of the Somali region in 1995 after it was moved from Goda. It is the Fatan zone, which is 75 kilometers west of the border with Somaliland. The ICRC has been operating there for more than 5 years. Although the area is not affected by any major conflict apart from tribal fightings that happens from time to time. So basically, this is just a background on Jijiga. Unfortunately, in the past 1 year, the activities have reduced due to lack of funding and more stability in the area, making it possible for the government and community taking over more responsibility. So we'll go to the next clip. So problem statement. No. executive summary, sorry. On the executive summary, we finished, and then we go to the problem statement. The main aim of conducting this analysis were, due to reduction in activities, there was need to cut down on the fleet to fit into the ongoing activities. Even before the reduced activity, there were concerned that the fleet was too big for the current activity. The fleet was also inefficient in conducting the activity because of poor planning. You could find 2 or more drivers going to the same destination while they could just have used one vehicle for the trip and save. Given that the organization is also concerned about environmental issues, there were campaigns to reduce the carbon footprint, hence the need to reorganize the fleet and make it more efficient and effective. This could also have benefited in saving on costs, that is fuel, repairs, and staff. With all that, it was necessary to do an analysis that could help the organization plan on ensuring they have a lean and effective fleet. So the current fleet analysis, that is before the reduction was done, you can see there, the current utilization of the vehicle based on the mileage covered can be summarized in the table below. The 4x4 vehicles were 7. They were covering about 1,600 kilometers per month, and total mileage of vehicles per month for all the 7 was 11,200. And then the total mileage for all vehicles per year was 134,400. That is only for the 4x4s. And then for the light vehicles, we had only one light vehicle there. It was covering 350 kilometers per month. So the total mileage covered by the light vehicle was 350. And all the mileage was 4,200 per year. And operational costs. The current operational cost of the vehicle per year is summarized also in the table below. You can see for the 4x4, for the acquisition, it is 23,000. They normally we buy the Land Cruisers at 23,000 CHF. Then the fuel cost for all the vehicles is 18,080. And then vehicle maintenance cost is around 6,300. And insurance and other compliance is around 840, which totals to 48,200. And this is for all the Land Cruisers. If you look at the sedan, that is the small vehicles, you can see vehicle acquisition is around and depreciation is around 2,200. It was 2,285. Then fuel cost was 4,420, maintenance and repairs 120, insurance 60. The total is 2,600, and you can see from there it has become a bit too small. 2,665.71. So those were the initial costs of maintaining. Then, after the analysis using the rightsizing tool, it was observed that the fleet setup could be reduced as follows. The town car can remain, that is 1, and then the Land Cruiser can be reduced to 5, that is you cut by 2. This was the effect of using the fleet rightsizing tool. Due to the reduction in the budget for GGGA, the organization finds it necessary to cut down on the cost, which will also lead to improved efficiency and reduced emission. Currently, the cost per mileage of having a vehicle can be summarized as follows. You can see it very clearly on the table, which is on your screen. Then going to the next, removing 2 vehicles from the fleet will lead to the following benefits. Direct cost savings will be 13,771 CHF per year, as shown below. And this will mean that the number of drivers will also be reduced by 2. Each driver earns about 450 Swiss francs per month, savings 10,800 CHF as per the table, which you can see. Given that each vehicle covers about 1,600 kilometers per month, The total mileage for the two vehicles per year will be 38,200. This mileage reduction will lead to an equivalent amount of reduction in emission. All those reductions will lead to leaner and more efficient fleet, which is most efficient. If properly implemented, the right sizing will lead to the ICRC saving 24,571, which is 27.64% of the GGA budget. So looking at the environmental impact, find below the environmental impact and emission data based on the planned reduction. The total emission, the carbon dioxide per year, the current value is 37,704. By reducing two vehicles, the target value will end up being 26,026. This is a 34% reduction. Fuel consumption, liters per year, currently is 14,926. It will be reduced to 9,784, which is again 34% reduction. Average utilization rate, that is by mileage, 134,400 kilometers, will be reduced to 96,000, which is 28%. Average vehicle occupancy, which is 60%, by sharing, it will be reduced. It will increase to 85%, which is negative 41.67 because of sharing. Workforce and service demand trends. According to the ICRC, the driver productivity should be at 70%. Currently, before the downsizing, the average driver productivity is 50.78%. Reducing the drivers by 2, that is from 7 to 5, will increase the productivity from 50.78 to 71.09, which is the recommended number, the recommended percentage. So here are the proposed solution. After the analysis was done, the following were the recommendation: to have the number of land cruisers reduced by 2, to have the number of drivers reduced by 2, to combine field trips for different departments going to the same destination, to ensure that mobile staff are sharing vehicles for personal use. Whenever possible or necessary, the office could lease vehicles and drivers on short-term basis. If found to be safe, the mobile staff to be allowed to use the recommended taxis for private movement. Ensure the GPS tracking of all vehicles already in place is properly managed and all movement tracked according to the dispatcher. Accordingly by the dispatcher. Ensure that all dispatch management data are entered in the FleetWave database, because we have a database called FleetWave, to ensure that the vehicle usage and driver productivity can be monitored effectively. Find below a summary of the current and future transport needs for the analysis. You can see the summary of what will be required on the table below. Then find below the summary of the cost reduction. Asset cost after right sizing, before right sizing it was 51,000. Staff cost was 37,800. Total cost was 88,888. Then after right sizing, the asset cost reduced to 37,314. Staff cost 27,000. Total cost is 64,000. This is a projected savings of 24,571, marking a 27% reduction. Then we always have risks whenever such changes occurs. No changes are expected to go smoothly as planned. There are always risks involved that could lead to potential operational disruption. The risk could be caused by different factors. Although we don't expect to know all the risks involved, because some risks are never expected, find below a list of expected risks. Employees adjusting to the new system and resistance to change. This one is very common. First is adjusting, and another one is resistant to change because they are used to having their own vehicles. Then employee being forced to adjust their timetable, because now the timetable must be adjusted to suit the planning. Loss of employment for some drivers, that is expected. Mobile staff learning to use public service vehicles which come with their own challenges, e.g. language barriers, poor maintained vehicles, etc. Given that we are expecting risk, we should also be able to plan to mitigate mitigation strategies. All staff to be briefed in advance about the plans in place. This is very important. They need to be informed about what's going to happen. The organization to contact taxi services from organization with drivers who can speak English and have well-maintained vehicles. That is very, very important. Then we have implementation plan and action plan. Given the current financial situation of the organization, the plan was put in place by end of August 2025. This gave enough time to inform all the concerned staff and plan accordingly. The 2 Land Cruisers to be reduced in the budget were either relocated to a different subdelegation or office or where the operation will be increased or disposed. For the termination of the 2 driver, the matter needs to be referred to the HR. All staff should be given training or briefing on how the new system will be. This is to ensure the adaptation of the new system and ensuring that the adaptation is swift. The key performance indicators to measure success will be as follows. After 6 months, a survey monkey to be conducted to check on how the staff have adapted to the new system, and results could indicate the success or failure. Regular personal interviews to be conducted to get to know how the staffs are adjusting. Planning of vehicle distribution to be regularly assessed to ascertain it is working well. That is all for now. Thank you, and maybe back to you, Paul.
Thank you, Robert. Really impressive. You know, if you see how that in the whole country, you reduced the fleet from 171 to 120. That's a huge reduction, and it's great to see the specific case in the Somali region. So we still have 3 minutes for some questions. So let me raise some of the questions. It's like George already said in the chat, is that if you look at right sizing this way, it means you have less vehicles on the road, which is reduction of cost, reduction of emissions, but of course also a reduction of road risks. You're less, let's say, road crash prone. And actually, Carlos has a question on that. He said as well, right sizing produced a reduction on mileage. Did you measure the impact on the number of traffic crashes due to lower exposure to risk?
Looking at the crashes, so far as of now, they have, since the changes were made, just looking at this specific location, there have been no crashes so far since the changes were done. So I cannot say that I did the measurement, but there was no crashes so far.
Okay, yeah, and you probably need you need to look at it over a longer period of time to really see if it reduces number of crashes. Yeah, great.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Stephen asked, so what happened to the vehicles you lose? What happened to the 50 vehicles countrywide that you don't deploy anymore?
Okay, the 50 vehicles currently we are planning to dispose them. First, we are going to ask the region whether we could transfer them to other delegations, but most likely they will not need them because most of the delegations are cutting down. So we are going to have them disposed maybe late this year and early next year.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Robert. So Cyril asked, thanks, Robert. And what was the most difficult step of the right sizing process you went through?
I can say the most difficult process was convincing the staff, because most of the staff, they enjoy having their own vehicles. So trying to convince them was quite a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Let's see, one more question. Jupiter, he asked, how about the changes in driver rest time during their duty time?
One thing you have to note is that there's no change in the rest time. In fact, what used to happen is that if you look at my presentation, you'll see the productivity of the drivers was 50%, and our standard productivity should be 70%. So we managed to bring from 50% to 70% so that the working can be according to the standards.
Yeah, great. Okay. Thanks, Robert. And unfortunately, it's already time. And before I thank you, I see people also ask, how can we register for the next right-sizing training, which will start at the 7th of October. What we will do is we will all send you a message after the webinar with the recording of the webinar. Robert, if you feel comfortable, we can share your presentation as well. And also a link to how to register for the next right-sizing course. Because what we see with Robert, it was really valuable to substantially reduce the fleet, reduce therefore cost, emissions, and road safety risks. Yeah, again, Robert, a big thank you. I think it was a great case. I'm really impressed by the way you applied, let's say, all the learnings in a very short period of time and really supported the organization with cost reduction, again, emission reduction and reduction of road risk without, let's say, compromising on the support that you provide to the organization. So great. Thanks, Robert. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hope to see you again in the next webinar, and have a good rest of the day.
Okay, thank you and have a good day for the remaining part of the day.